And people say, well, it's easy. It's not easy for these people to get in, that there's a huge process and a program. But the reality is, and we've known it for years, and people have been talking about this for years, is that the whole program itself is fraudulent. Obama started this program, and that there are agencies and brokers, an entire industry in India that helps people get their family members here. They fake documents, they fake their credentials, they fake their degrees. They come here, they learn on the job, and like, no, we need the best and the brightest because we need qualified workers. Well, that's not what you're getting.
You're not. The question is, and at least this is where I'm sitting, what line do you sit on? Do you sit on a, hey, stop the bleeding, period, full stop? Or is it okay to have provisions for other individuals or certain select class of people to come in? Where do you sit, Matt? Do you think it's just right now everything's crazy and we just need to stop the bleeding?
I do think we need to stop the bleeding. I think that things are such a mess right now. And it's similar as what they're trying to propose with the budget, which is the federal budget, which is they want to increase it because they need new programs in order to fix problems. I'm like, okay, no.
You mean the programs that didn't work previously?
What you need to do is you need to shut the whole thing down, figure out what's actually wrong, and if you say you can fix it, great, fix it. Fix it first.
Yeah.
And once you've proven that you can fix it, and you say, do you know what? I've been competent. I've shown my worth. I've shown that I'm able to do the things I promised to do. We need more workers.
Yeah.
Great. Let's have a conversation now.
Yeah.
Don't ask for more shit when you haven't done your part yet.
Yep.
I think that's so fair, so logical. And people are like, no, like you need to solve this problem first. Like, no, there's an order of business.
Yes.
You can't just start band-aiding solutions without fixing core issues.
I think it's important. If you have water in your basement, you turn off the water.
Yes.
You don't keep the water running.
And let's just put...
Yeah.
Although I did see the infomercial of that, the patch that you put on the wall and it stops anything. I'm like, bro, that thing's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, you can keep the water running.
Yeah.
Actually, the patch is so good, you should actually poke holes.
What's that patch called, Will?
Just so you can see if it still runs. You're like, yo, let's see if this thing works. No, it's true. Like if your if your basement's underwater, you stop the water. You stop the bleeding, which is the most rational thing. And I think what's interesting is that I think part of this fire starter is it's Elon, the savior of the world.
Yes.
The great Messiah, our great tech bro, God on high. I feel like he might end up becoming eaten by his own followers in this because, like, he's supposed to be the savior of the alt-right, right? But now he's letting in these Indians, these people. So what's the dissonance?
And people say, well, it's easy. It's not easy for these people to get in, that there's a huge process and a program. But the reality is, and we've known it for years, and people have been talking about this for years, is that the whole program itself is fraudulent. Obama started this program, and that there are agencies and brokers, an entire industry in India that helps people get their family members here. They fake documents, they fake their credentials, they fake their degrees. They come here, they learn on the job, and like, no, we need the best and the brightest because we need qualified workers. Well, that's not what you're getting.
You're not.
You're not at all. I've never spoken to an engineering manager in Silicon Valley going, oh, yeah, we get the best and brightest from India. No, that's just objectively not true. And anyone that's telling you that is either ignorant and they don't know, or they're just blatantly lying to you, which is just as bad. And the tech bros that are leading our society at this very moment, they are lying straight to your face. You want to say something?
I do, man. But like,
a lot of these tech companies, and not only do they import Indian labor, because they actually don't need to import it if they didn't want to, right? Because most people actually work in decentralized teams. People are all over the world. They do that perfectly well. Actually, if there's talent they really want, they just stay in the country of origin and they work together remote. There's no problem with that.
There is really no need for them to be coming in our borders.
They only bring them in because it fuels that auxiliary parallel economy that they're all benefiting from.
What you said, I think I want to say two things. The first thing I want to say is the machine behind the entire visa application is a hundreds of, maybe probably billion-dollar industry. And I don't think I'm over-exaggerating here because I've seen the underbelly of that when I was in India. There are entire... In America, we have recruiting firms. You can find your Randstad, recruiting firm on the corner over here, right? In India, they have those in India, but they're not recruiting firms. They're how can we scoot? You pay me $5,000, whatever the price is. I can ensure we can scoot you around every legal framework and make sure that you can get, fast tracked. Like I've seen them, so it exists. It's a huge industry. Huge. And it's the fact that it's so huge tells you the malfeasance that goes behind it. Like, why is there so much money behind this helping people circumvent our laws? Like, that's crazy. Like if you were the king, if America had a king, the king would look at this and say, you guys are circumventing our laws to get into our country. And it's like $1 billion enterprise over there. Shut it down. Number two, I thought about this for a second, but I'm going to say it. As someone who has, let's just say, seen thousands of resumes of nearshore, offshore applicants, I will tell you, I have I can't, I'm lying now. I can't say almost. I have never been impressed with a single Indian applicant who was applying for a highly specialized technical position. It was not that it was the full package. They lacked the sophistication. They lacked the communication ability. They lacked that one nuance. They lacked the maturity. They lacked the ability to functionally decompose their idea. I've never hired one, Matt. I paused to say that before because I was searching through my soul and I was like, have I actually hired? And the answer is I never was impressed and I've never actually hired one from India. Because they were the better choice between the options I had here stateside.
What people fail to recognize is that the technologists, because we're talking about technologists now, the technologists that are extremely highly competent and sought after in China, they stay in China.
Yes.
Because they are very well taken care of.
Oh.
They become extremely rich by staying home. The same goes for Korea. Those guys that do extremely well in technology, there's no incentive for them to come here and work for Elon at Tesla making $80,000 or $100,000 a year. They become filthy rich by staying where they are.
Yes.
And they're treated like kings.
Yeah.
Same thing for India. You're not getting the best of the best. You're getting the people that themselves in their own countries, they didn't want them. And now we're arguing that we need to bring more of them in when we have qualified people here. You just don't want to pay them more.
That's the third thing, is that I find it to be a complete farce. We have the most intelligent engineering individuals on the planet in America, period, full stop, period, full stop. No doubt. Now, is the price tag of a senior Java architect $380,000? Absolutely, and they're worth every penny. The problem is most companies aren't willing to pay $300,000 for a senior architect who can do everything under the sun. And so they're willing to pay $85,000 for someone who has a resume and it looks like it, but it also looks like it was ChatGPT-ized, if you know what I mean.
But the argument is not coming from those medium, small-sized companies saying we need more laborers. It's for the big companies that can afford to pay the $300,000 price tag that are saying we don't want to pay it. And the reality is the companies of the world like Google, who 10 years ago, if you were a software engineer and you got an offer from Google, that was like, oh my gosh.
Dude, I applied to Google. I got rejected.
My life is set. I get to work for Google.
Yeah.
The best don't want to work for Google anymore. Why? Because all filled with low-level Indian engineers. They don't want to be associated with that anymore. They ruined their own culture, and they want to use those same mentalities and tactics that they ruined the culture of their own countries and roll that out into how they run America, which is bullshit because you have yet to prove that you can do it well, but yet you want to do it at a larger scale. It's the whole problem of Kamala and failing up.
Yes.
Have you developed good technologies? Yes. Have you built a shit culture and failed miserably at it? Yes. Two things can be true at once.
That's true. That's true. So,
And-
this rhetoric from you, Matt, seems pretty. If I can go to the extreme, pretty isolationist, and somewhat nationalistic of you to say. It sounds like you're, dare I say, America and Americans first.
I think that living here, my family is here, my parents are here, my child is born here, will be raised here. I want America to be the best country possibly in the world. Why? Because this is where I live. This is where I've set my roots. This is where I will continue to live. And you notice the tech oligarchs trying to play God with our lives, and you're like, no, like that's not a good idea. Because they don't care. They're clearly not American first, because if they were America first, they'd be trying to figure out, how do we help the education system? How do we help the people around us? How do we raise up people that may be younger, and how do we let them grow? Instead of bringing in Indian engineers that are learning on the job anyway, just so that we can pay them less.
So